Hello, everyone. I am Grant McGaugh, CEO of Five Star BDM and host of the Follow Brand podcast and TV series. Welcome to our Fireside chat, focusing on the AI Symphony, orchestrating changes in global society and its ethical impact. And today we will explore in a few minutes societal transformation that navigates the ethical landscape with Mariam Bryant. How are you doing, Mariam?
I'm excellent. Thank you so much, Grant. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure is all mine. We're going to jump right in. We got our first question because you are phenomenal. How do you envision AI reshaping our interaction with art and enhancing creativity, particularly in light of your work at the intersection of art, science, and technology?
Thank you so much, Grant. I think you're phenomenal. I think there's so many different ways that AI will impact art. It already has. And I see AI really as another tool, another paintbrush for artists to be able to engage with. And I know there's currently two different schools of thought, and I'm trying to straddle the fine line, walk the edge in the middle of saying, um, this is a new technology, just as, light was a new technology or even fire. I think what we're looking at is a push between the past, the present, and the future, and there will always be some sort of tension in bringing people on board as early adopters, as people who are purists in what fine art is and how AI can inform it. Um, so the potential is exponential. In terms of how it's used, I think it boils down to the ethics of how the AI is created and how it's brought into the world. So that ethical moral compass is really the guiding star, the lighthouse, the beacon, if you will, that will um, also see, I think, we'll see a pattern and a shift between this pendulum swing of people going into high tech, high tech, high tech, and then a push back into, slow tech, no tech. One of the shows I had last year had zero tech, and part of it was understanding and preparing for the shift of, you know, there's so much tech, we get inundated, and fully immersive experiences are nothing new. They were in museums in Japan as far back as 2018. It's just now they're getting to be a little bit more accepted globally, and there'll be a saturation where we move on to the next new thing. And that's part of our human composition, or the way that our minds are always seeking neophiliac experiences, so new, novel things that will create neuronal sparks and have those synapses say, "Ooh, this is something different."
Oh
And I
my
think
God,
that's
this is going to
what art
really change
offers.
our experience as humanity is on the verge of a great change. And I've heard of those things that you just talked about, like digital fatigue. People get fatigued digitally; they kind of tune out, tune in, or they get saturated. And there's a lot out there because it's a new tool, it's a new toy. We're all playing with it now, right? So we got just a few minutes. This is going to go real quick. But considering your team's expertise from quantum physics to neuroscience, what are the key ethical challenges and opportunities in AI development? And how do these considerations influence our understanding of consciousness? You got 3 minutes.
Thanks, Grant. That's a bit of an impossible task, but I'll try. I think it touches on some of the dialogue from the earlier panel, and I think where we're headed toward is a digital consciousness. What we're creating here is the evolution of the new sphere, and I won't go into that, but you're welcome to take a look. We're also looking at the telos, the purpose. Why was AI created? How did the internet come to be? And how is it evolving? And part of that infrastructure dictates the archetypes and the cultures that are the foundational pillars of the AI that we're using. So the question of copyright, the question of whose oral traditions and stories are digitized in our compendia to be used as a database for images, for creativity, and then looking at the educational stream of women and other groups in tech. Part of that is embedding, and this is part of a 23-page white paper, embedding universal design in the conceptual architecture. So how do we get more people into STREAM, science, technology, reading, writing, recreation, engineering, art, and math. And I've presented at Microsoft conferences for developers before, Grant, and I just want to leave you with this.
Yes.
Out of the 200 developers in the audience, only 10 were women. And so
Wow.
it creates a little bit of a homogenous kind of, pipeline in terms of the concepts that go into the design. I see a lot of people in the chat, so I know you're taking a look as well. In terms of consciousness, I think we're going to see a shift as well. The title of this talk is the AI Symphony. Um, we know that technology impacts our biomagnetic fields. We have magnetic fields in our hearts and our brains, and we know that there's an interaction there. We haven't had deep dives into it, and so part of it is we're engaged in a global social experiment
Mm.
with our children, with the elderly who are feeling increasingly isolated. I'm going a little over your 3 minutes, I think, but I think these are all part of the answer to the question that you asked.
I think what we're going to do, we have to have you back because, and we talked even yesterday that these kinds of concepts and discussions could take hours because we are definitely in the world of expansion and it's all a newness. And we've got to have people like yourself talk us through some of these things and what we're going through as an experience because the world that our parents know and grandparents knew is changing. So I appreciate you being with us today. Our gather has been well, and we will see you again shortly.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're most welcome.